Many people have asked what the groups function means. Several people think that that is a way for you to actually group your students by classes when they're registered. If you have multiple classes coming through the door, and that's not really what groups are meant for. Groups are really for you to allow in a self-paced testing function for students to be on a certain team. From there, you can also allow them to have a single spokesperson that submits the answers for that team if you wanted to. So let's take a look at how to set up the groups and what it looks like when we do it just in groups or with nominating a spokesperson. To set up your group initially, after you've registered your devices, you can see in my voting browser I've got a few registered here for this example. You're going to go to Edit and then come down to Groups. Now, I previously was playing, it usually shows up by default, Group 1, Group 2. You can add new groups in, so you can have several. You don't have to have just 2 groups. I'm going to leave mine named Dinosaurs and Robots. You, of course, could have it with whatever you wanted. Then all we have to do is just kind of click and drag and see which students we want. So let's say I want Adam, Miriam, and Susan to all be a part of the dinosaurs, and I want Lee and Rhiannon to be a part of the robots. Okay? Essentially, I'm done. I've created the group with a self-paced test. Now, if I wanted to, let's just go ahead and leave it like this and say OK. Alright, so now I'm in a self-paced test function, meaning that all of the questions are going to show up on the devices, and this is just my template to show the kids what they're going to be working on. What I do is press play, and I get this prompt that says, groups have been created for self-paced voting. Would you like to organize the learners into groups for this vote? If I choose this option, that means every single time that I pull into a self-paced test, it's always going to use the groups. So a lot of times I leave that unchecked just so it does ask me each time. So I'm going to hit yes, and now it's showing me, okay, here are all of your groups and your students that are in each group. So if I turn on my devices over here, as soon as they all turn on, you can see when I started and had my first question. Now, even though the students are all in groups, every student is still getting to take the test and answer. So they would all have their own handheld and still be able to work independently. Okay? So let's stop this and tell it no for not saving. And close this out. Now what I want to do is I want to go back and edit the group again and show you what it is for nominating a single spokesperson. So you have the option, by default it nominates the very first person in the listing as the spokesperson. You can actually randomize it so that the kids don't know who's going to be the spokesperson that time. Or you can simply click in and grab this menu icon and make them a spokesperson. Okay, so I've got Susan and Rhiannon as my spokespeople. Let's see, we're going to tell it OK. So that's the only change we made. I left them in the same groups, but this time I assigned a spokesperson for the group. So now what's happening when I press play, I'm still going to tell it yes, I want it to use my groups now. Now you'll notice only one student is tracking. That means only one device is allowed to have the questions and submit the answers because you nominated them as the spokesperson for the group. So this is when teams would be working together to go through a self-paced test together, but still only have one answer from the entire group. Okay? That's all our group functioning does. You don't have to use it, but I wanted people to know what it was and how the spokesperson submission portion works. Okay? So I'm going to stop the vote and tell it not to save anything, and then we'll close it out. And again, that's how you use your groups. You can choose it to where you simply group students just to give them, the feeling of who's going to try to get the most points in the group, but still allow every student to answer, so all of the correct answers count towards their group points. Or you can have them work together as a group and then submit their answer with one device, kind of more like a Jeopardy style speed round, if you will. So totally up to you how you use it, but a pretty neat feature to have.